When I was a kid, bad things happened in my house. I don't really need to get into the details. You can probably fill in the blanks. Let's just say I grew up with complex PTSD before I even knew what that was. My way of surviving was leaving. Not physically, obviously, but mentally. By the time I was 8, I had learned how to disappear. People call it dissociation now. Back then it was just zoning out. I still can't tell if it saved me or if it broke something I'll never get back. Teachers wrote reports about my daydreaming, whilst my parents just called me lazy. But really, I was building entire universes inside my head. And here's the weird part. I never stopped. Even now, as an adult, I slip into it like a second skin. Sometimes unintentionally, sometimes on purpose. On the train, in line at the grocery store, lying awake at night, I just go somewhere else. I make people, friends, lovers, enemies, heroes, villains. I give them names, backstories, quirks. I decide how they meet, what happens to them, how they die if I'm feeling dramatic. I have some preset worlds that I visit most. These are usually reserved to help me regulate my emotions. They're filled with characters that agree with everything I say, or help me work through a feeling. Because they are technically all me, I know I'm just helping myself through my problem, but it's comforting to think that there are people who want to help me too, even if they aren't real. When I'm bored though, these worlds can develop into anything. One time, I made myself win the lottery. £6 million. I bought a house, filled it with cool stuff, donated a chunk to children's charities, and created a dialogue for all those characters around me as I went along. "Oh, thank you so much," I made one character say. "You've single-handedly solved child poverty." I remember letting out a little giggle in the real world, which resulted in 5 people at the bus stop turning to look at me, eyebrows raised. Another time, I imagined a world where every single person on Earth had a countdown above their head. A glowing number ticking away to their death. I spent weeks inside that one, weaving stories of how people would act if they knew exactly when they were going to die. I made a married couple cling to each other as the husband watched his wife's countdown tick to 0 whilst he still had 12 years left. As she died, I made him sob into her hair, wishing he would go too. Then I had an idea. I made him sit up in resolution as his countdown switched to 4 minutes. Yeah, I made him, self-exit. What can I say? I was feeling emotional that day. What can I say? I was feeling emotional that day. It's like playing The Sims, except I'm the god, the camera, and every single character at the same time. I can write a whole romance in my head during a boring meeting. I can invent a tragic war epic to help me fall asleep. Sometimes I make them fight, sometimes I make them laugh, sometimes I let them comfort me when I can't comfort myself. It's my own little multiverse, and I control everything. Or at least, I thought I did. The first time it happened, I was in this world where I was just about to be broken up with. I wasn't in a very good place in my relationship in the real world, so I used to go there often when I was alone, usually after arguments. Sometimes I'd figure out a way to fix it, sometimes I'd just let it happen and wallow in self-pity whilst making lasagna. This time though, I guess I just wanted to get some practice in, cool comebacks, etc., just in case the inevitable happened. I knew he was going to break up with me. So, I had everything planned. The world was built, backstory thought of, the script ready in my head. It was going well. I decided at the last minute that this time I was going to beat him to the punch. I sat us down on a bench. I made the evening sun just about to dip below the horizon, and I started to talk. You don't want to be with me, I started. I had a whole host of witty, clever things I wanted to say ready for when he was finished with his part of the script, but that's not what happened. That's not fair. You don't know what I want. The words were sharp, so clear. I don't know if I heard them in my head or out loud. I hadn't planned that. I hadn't even thought of those words before I heard them. I actually stopped mid-laundry because I thought I'd misremembered. But no, this character, this fake person, just looked at me, the me in my head, and said something I didn't make him say. At first I brushed it off. I thought I'd buried myself so deep in this world that my subconscious was picking up on something it thought was coming next. That's all. Even still, I didn't really want to go back there. I stayed out of my own head all day. Every time I felt myself slipping into a scenario, I'd do my best to snap myself back into reality. I didn't know what my brain was playing at, but I had no comeback for what he said. He was meant to agree. He was meant to argue. I had it all planned. That evening I couldn't sleep. I'd pretty much forgotten about the little brain blip earlier. It was overshadowed by my actual boyfriend not coming home again that night. I tossed and turned for what felt like hours, but nothing helped. Finally, I decided to slip into my happy place. It's a place I built when I was around 10. It was a quiet cabin in the middle of dense woods. No people, just me. It was always raining there. I love the rain. I'd always start the scenario outside, soaked through. I would walk up to the cabin, unlock the door, and be met by a comforting warmth, even though the fire sat cold. I'd light the fire, usually with magic. I was 10, give me a break. And I'd snuggle into my goose-down duvet on the sofa, the soft fabric so soothing against my cold skin. And then Jerry would bring me cookies. Oh, Jerry's not a person. Like I said, this cabin was strictly no people allowed. He's my kind of adopted forest pet. I'm not sure exactly what he is. I think my kid brain must have mixed two birds together, because he's as white as a dove, but he's most definitely a crow. I'm 36 now, so I can't remember what I was thinking, and I have no idea why I named the bird Jerry at 10, but he's a permanent fixture here anyway. I wanted comfort, so I closed my eyes and planned to drift there. It was harder to get there this time. It was difficult to relax with everything going on, but I managed it eventually. I walked through the forest, up the path, the familiar droplets of heavy rain beaded on my skin as always. I couldn't hear the usual bird song this time, but I put it down to my brain being torn between this world and reality. The real me was very anxious, so maybe the background ambience was too much for my mind to process as well. But when I walked through the door, in my mind, the fire was already lit. Someone was sitting in a chair by the hearth. A woman. Jerry was perched on her shoulder. She turned, looked straight at me, and whispered, "Finally." I snapped out of it so fast I thought I was going to be sick. Now I know I definitely didn't make her. I should have left it there, but curiosity eats at you, doesn't it? I've been in therapy since I was able to pay for it myself. Dr. Ashcroft always said that dissociation was just my brain protecting itself. So I told myself that's all it was. A trick of memory. A glitch in the script. Nothing more. She said because my real world felt out of control that maybe it was bleeding into my subconscious, making me think I didn't do or say the things in my head. From that point on, I tried to chill. It didn't take long before I was sitting alone in my office, bored out of my skull, waiting on Simon from accounting to email something through. I imagined what it would be like if I didn't have to work there. And before I knew it, I'd slipped back into my lottery win daydream. I imagined myself at home, our new bigger home. sipping a passion fruit martini beside an indoor swimming pool. The sun's warm rays reflecting ripples of pool water like glitter on the walls. For a moment it was perfect. The tang of the fruit on my tongue, the cool tiles beneath my bare feet, the lazy sound of water lapping against the pool's edge. Then I noticed a wet footprint. Just one. Near the edge of the pool. Not mine. Too big, too heavy. The droplets led towards the glass doors, but disappeared halfway, as if whoever left them had just vanished. I tried to push it aside, chalking it up to a slip in my concentration. I set my glass down, thinking about how nice it would be to feel the water on my skin. And that's when I saw it. A reflection rippling across the glittering wall. Not mine, not anything that should have been there. A figure moving slowly, deliberately behind me. Before I could turn, I felt two cold hands on my shoulders. My heart pounded in my chest. I didn't summon them. I didn't build them. They leaned in close. They leaned in, close enough that I could smell chlorine on their skin, and whispered, "You're starting to understand." I was startled out of the nightmare of my apparent own creation by a knock. Sorry Laura, I can't get the email thing to, email. Sorry Laura, I can't get the email thing to, email. Simon stood in the doorway, arms stuffed full of disorganized papers, his face twisted when he saw me. "What's with you? You look like you've seen a ghost." I laughed too quickly, the sound brittle. My hands went to my shoulders without thinking, brushing at the fabric of my blouse. Wet. My fingertips came away damp. Maybe it was sweat. Maybe. Simon frowned. "Are you alright? You smell like chlorine." I forced a smile, but my heart was still racing. I hadn't been near a real pool in months. I'm not feeling well. I think I need to go home," I stammered before brushing past him. Alright," he echoed down the hallway. I was halfway down when I heard a crash behind me, Simon cursing as he tripped over a bucket the cleaner had left outside my office door. A sharp whiff of chemicals hit the air. For one dizzy second, I almost laughed with relief. Of course, the smell. Just cleaning supplies. Just a coincidence. But then I looked down at my blouse. The damp patches clung to my skin, and no bucket in the world could explain that. Right? I tried to get an urgent appointment with Dr. Ashcroft, but I couldn't get a hold of her. On the drive home, my mind wandered without me even meaning to. One blink I was on the motorway, the next I was sitting in my log cabin, across from that woman, the one I never made. She smiled, leaned close, and simply said, "Hello." My eyes snapped open to headlights bearing down on me. I swerved hard, tires screaming, dragging myself back into the right lane with my heart hammering against my ribs. I wasn't safe anywhere now, not even behind the wheel. That had never happened before. I could always control everything, every character, every setting, every detail bent to my will. Every thought was mine. But now it felt like I was falling into a world of my own creation without a choice. My fingers drummed a frantic rhythm against the coffee table as I tried to anchor myself, to will myself to stay here, in reality. That's when the phone rang. Dr. Ashcroft. I snatched it up, desperate for answers, for something that would pull me back. But all I got were words of advice, calm and clinical. Ground yourself. Remind yourself it's still just you. Realize they're just parts of your mind. Not what I wanted to hear. Not when the voices didn't feel like me anymore. I tried to argue, to tell her that it was different this time, that it wasn't me, but she cut me off with a barrage of urgent questions. You say they're not yours. Whose do you think they are? I don't know. When you hear them, is it inside your head? Or does it sound like it's coming from outside? I don't know. Do they sound familiar to you in any way? No, I don't know. What do you think these voices want from you? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I hung up the phone, scowling at the screen. What was that? I needed help, not an interrogation. I couldn't answer half her questions, but one clung to me. The more I tried to ignore it, the heavier it sat in my chest. That night, I lay down on my bed, exhausted but restless. Against my better judgment, I drifted back into the cabin. It still rained outside, soaking my skin in that comforting way it always did. But I could see the firelight already flickering inside the cabin. She was there, the woman, waiting. Jerry still perched calm on her shoulder. She tilted her head, eyes bright, lips curling into a smile that wasn't kind. Well, isn't this freeing? My legs carried me forward in 2 shaky steps before I even realised I was moving. What do you mean, freeing? Then I blinked, and I wasn't standing anymore. I was sitting in the chair across from her, hands folded neatly in my lap, as if someone else had put me there. A voice rose from behind me, low and certain. She means you're not the one in control anymore. Her smile lingered, and then the world around me fractured. In the blink of an eye, I was no longer in the cabin. I was back on the bench, the one where I'd practiced breaking up with my boyfriend. Only this time, he turned his head and looked me dead in the eye. I don't need you to tell me what to say. Before I could answer, the scene shifted again. I was standing in front of the woman I'd imagined thanking me for charity donations. Her eyes burned with something like fury. I don't need to be your puppet for your gratification. Then everything shifted again. I was in the countdown world, but this time, I wasn't watching him. I was in his place. A stool beneath my feet, a robe brushing my throat, his hand steadying me. His voice was calm, almost relieved. I don't have to do this. But I want to. He kicked the stool from under me. I felt the rope tighten like a vice around my neck as the world faded to grey. I woke, gasping for air, clawing at my throat, only to find myself tucked neatly into bed, the sheets smoothed, the pillow cold beneath my head. Which brings me to now. I'm doing everything I can to stay out of my worlds. No daydreams, no slipping, no comfort trips to the cabin. It doesn't matter. Lately, I catch myself halfway through things I don't remember starting. Once, I found myself standing at the sink, cold water running over my hands, the tap opened fully. My hands were blue. Another time, I awoke halfway down the stairs, clutching a mug I couldn't recall filling. These moments, stolen, half-lived, settle over my days like dust. There are gaps in hours now, little pockets of missing time that throb at the edges of my memory. I tell myself I'm fine. I tell myself that this is nothing, that exhaustion can mimic madness. Yet, this morning I woke up with my nails dug deep into my arm. My skin was raw. I'd been scratching words into myself. When I finally pulled away my hand, the words were there, carved in jagged red letters. Not yours. I tried to walk through my days more slowly now, clinging to routines like clockwork. That way, if time goes missing, I'll know. I can feel them watching, the other selves. Waiting for the moment I slip. Waiting for the chance to step forward again. Is this how they felt? Living their lives normally until I plucked them from their reality and forced them to play in mine? That can't be it. I made them, didn't I? They aren't real. Are they? Dr. Ashcroft wants to up our sessions to twice a week. She says next time she'll have a specialist join us. And when I said I didn't know there was a specialist in daydream characters gone wrong, she just smiled at me in that doctor way, like I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I didn't give these imaginary people independence. I can't make them do what they want. But if I didn't give them autonomy, who did? Hi everyone, thanks for listening. This one was written by me, so if you enjoyed it, please give it a like and a subscribe. It really helps the channel grow and honestly heals my inner child a little. I've got a dedicated playlist of all of my stories that I've written if you'd like to have a look through. And here's a little fun fact about where this story came from. I finished it at my desk, as you do, but it actually started in a Tesco's car park. I was sitting there in the car, waiting for my husband to come back with snacks, lost in my own made-up world, when I thought, shit. Could you imagine if one of them ever talked back? To which one of them replied, yeah, that would be fucked up. So, yeah. Good night.